Hello and welcome to the January 13th Lifeboat Academy Coordination Circle. This is our first coordination circle of 2025, and that means that we are getting ready for our charrette, and we're in the middle of our annual planning process. So this is a particularly momentous coordination circle because it really gives us a chance to check in and to kind of hit that start to dial in the focus for 2025. So excited to be here. And as always, we start with a land acknowledgement. And as always, I make it available to anybody. Is there anybody who would like to do the land acknowledgement today, or shall I? So shall I. Um, I am excited to say that the Community Justice Program may actually be working directly with Norm Leach to do some training for us. So I'm especially excited to say, in the words of Norm Leach, we start with the land because the land was here before we were, and the land will be here long after we are gone. And everything that we ever experience, everything that keeps us alive and healthy and thriving comes from the land and returns to the land, and we only exist as people because of the land. And so we start our meetings that way as a way of getting good perspective on why we are here in this room and why we are here on this planet, and to call us to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and to recognize our interconnection, our interdependence, and um, and a reminder to live in right relations with ourselves and each other, and our human relations and our more than human relations. And so it's also a call to accountability, responsibility, to doing the right thing, because we know ultimately doing the right thing for our relatives is doing the right thing for ourselves. So there's no opposition here. And in doing that, we also acknowledge very specifically that this is wisdom and knowledge that has been held and protected and shared for generations, time immemorial. And and we owe a deep debt of gratitude to those cultures of the world that have maintained this. And we additionally have a debt to them because those cultures have not been well treated by the cultures that we come from. And so part of being in right relationship is healing relations that have been harmed, whether they are with the land or ourselves or each other. And so this is a reminder that the work that we are doing ultimately here is about how do we all support each other in a way that is mutually beneficial and healing for everyone, and in keeping with the nature of reality. So with that, I specifically tip my hat to the WSÁNEC, who are the keepers of the land that I find myself on now, and have been here since time immemorial and are still here, and to all of the indigenous cultures around the world. So with that, I invite you just to take a moment to ground yourself now in the land. So take a moment just to get comfortable where you are. Feel free to close your eyes if that feels right. And just become aware of your breathing. Feel free to take a nice breath in and a nice out, feeling the energy and the oxygen entering your lungs. And on the exhale, releasing tension, releasing anything that no longer serves you. And take a moment to feel the weight of your body pressing down into the seat where you are. And in your mind's eye, see how that seat is oriented in the room and how that room fits into the building and how the building sits on the land, and see how the land is connected to the north and to the east. And feel into what part of your body is to the south and what lies in that direction. And to the west. Take one more deep breath in, drawing in from all your relations in all the directions. And as you exhale, just let go of whatever keeps you from being present here today. And then as you are ready, come join us back in the circle. All right, so let's start with a check-in. The circle as I see it is Ronnie, April, Roland, and me. And anyone have a good check-in question? Let's go with the oldie but a goodie. What's the weather like where you are? Whatever that means to you. So Ronnie, over to you, and I'll put the order in the chat.
It's been cool and sunny the last couple of days. And internally, I think I'm sensing sort of like a misty, chilly cloudiness. The kind that feels cozy and makes you want to like curl up with a hot chocolate and a book or something, which I wish I could do all week, but alas, I have commitments. But yeah, that's me. Over to April.
Well, my weather is cool and high overcast. And the time of the day makes me feel like that I'm kind of drawing in a bit and looking forward to sustenance of different kinds within my own dwelling, I guess, and wanting the release of evening in my body, I think. And over to Roland.
Are you there? Okay.
Yep. It's been, I just have to figure out how to use my phone. Yesterday we had some sun, and today I think it's been mostly gray, and my internal and external are very similar. Over to Ben.
Yeah, I took a walk with Zelda just before this, and it felt almost like it was going to snow. I mean, temperature-wise, there's no chance of it, but it has that kind of cool, just on the edge of freezing, but still really humid, really damp, and which was wonderful. It was really refreshing. It was that kind of like, was great to go out for a walk and then nice to come into the warm. And yeah, I think actually I'm very aware of the time of day. I'm feeling my inner chicken, sort of settling in. So awesome. So I'm going to share, if I can't find it. There we go. I think here is our agenda for the day. And we really have a very focused agenda, which is just to figure out how we want to use our time in the charrette, which is not happening this weekend, but the following weekend. And as I think it's good at this time of year in particular that we take some time looking at the North Star, and probably also just a quick glance at the calendar, but really we'll be talking about the annual plan as the main item on the agenda. And the guild reports kind of also now are really in anticipation of the charrette. So with that, I thought let's do a once around on North Star. Keep it classic. So 3 questions. What is it that you think we are trying to accomplish together? Why is it important? Where are we now? and you can answer any one of these or all three of these or any combination. So really just what's up for you on our North Star, and Ronnie, over to you.
We are trying to provide support to people building place-based resilience, both online support and in-person on the farm support. And it's important because shit is burning quickly and everywhere. And people are freaked out, and they should be freaked out because it's freaky. And we're the Lifeboat Academy, and we're here to help. And where are we now? We are at the beginning of the year with some goals that we've identified, or areas of growth that we would like to address. And we are working together to figure out how the charrette can best serve the proposals for those goals. Over to April, I think.
Thanks, Ronnie. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think we're building a resilient community that will provide lifeboat support to other projects that want to increase their place-based resiliency. And as Ronnie mentioned, it's more timely every day, what it is that we are doing. Part of it that's really important is maintaining forward momentum, hope, and action that gives us a reflection of what can be. And where are we now is, yeah, another year of charting forward motion, charting what's worked, pulling in everybody in the system, and doing some big thinking together. It's not just big thinking, but it's perhaps inevitable thinking together. And over to Roland.
Is my sound on?
Yes.
Okay. So we, from where I'm sitting, we are at a fever pitch of multi-generational social, and I'll just say social, system that is embedded in trauma. And the irony is that we can now see, because of trying to understand why we've been so miserable for so long, where we've developed ways, and continue to develop ways and readopting ways of being able to see more clearly what's going on. So the Lifeboat Academy is a multivalent project that's bringing together a whole wackadoo of different things. And what we're working at is how to make these new ways of doing things, which are old ways of doing things, how to make them work in the real world. In the actual world, I should say that instead of real. Yeah, and where we are now is With the charrette, we are at the aiming in a constant cycle, revolution, spiral of aim, act, reflect. So over to Ben.
Yeah, this is great. It's a joy to listen along. And it's also fun to go last because I can basically say ditto. And well, and I think building on what Roland was saying, I think it was something that's very alive for me just today is what we're trying to accomplish is offering a new lens through which to view the world. And and I'm continuing to read The Master and His Emissary, and I think ultimately it is finding ways of embodying. If I agree with his premise. I think what we are witnessing in the world is the left hemisphere gone mad, the left hemisphere completely denying the right hemisphere. And we need both of them. So it isn't about killing the left hemisphere. It's about reintroducing the right hemisphere, but also giving that hemisphere dominance, oversight. And so it's not nearly so much about like, there are lots of things in our system that need to, be jettisoned, but there's also lots of value in there. And it's just being able to have the lens to see what's what. And why that's important is because I think that we run the risk, we are so ingrained, or that way of being, that traumatized way of being that Roland's talking about is so ingrained. If we don't slow down and check our assumptions, we're more likely to do harm than good. And it's so easy to fall back into old ways that are destructive. And so, yeah, I get to put in the uber big picture because everyone else covered everything else. And I agree. I think that's exactly where we are. We're in AIM. We're at the charrette, and we're at the beginning of the year and figuring out how we move into action, which is a pretty sweet spot to be. So we'll do our standard twice around on this one. So we've all had a chance to share, and now that we've each shared, anything that's coming up for you, thoughts, reactions, new ideas, over to you, Ronnie.
I love it. Over to April.
I like it because it reminds me what the context is that really is underneath everything else. So it reveals itself again in this discussion and at this time of year. Even if I am using parts of the lenses, I still need that revealing to happen to keep me encouraged and on course and curious instead of overly anxious. Over to Roland.
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it. Over to you, Ben.
Me too. Yeah, this feels well, I guess actually no, that I loved how it builds. I love how, and that's part of the thing about the process is we can ask the same question again and again, and it's still an alive answer, and it's weaving together things and building on things. And I am in love with the process. So that's kind of cool. Let's see, let me get the calendar up and we'll do a quick review on the calendar. And all right. So just to give some context on our timelines, this week we have Heart Work and Philosophy, and we still have to schedule the farm. Well, there's a discussion around scheduling the Farm Guild meeting, which is just something that needs to get on the calendar, but it's not on the calendar yet. And then next week, oh, actually, it's not on here. Oh, there it is. So tomorrow we have our last lifeboat builder orientation session at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So it's set up to be also friendly to Europe. And then next week we have Outreach and Network Guild. We have a finance meeting scheduled, but Becca has a conflict and it is the first day of the charrette. So that may not happen. We've already had our finance meeting to get our proposal together. Outreach already has had their meeting to put a proposal together. So and then Heartwork will have a meeting today, and I am using the proposal. I already had the proposal for the badging system, and I think that that's going to be the submission for research, and that in the research project, which is already a proposal that's out there. So and then at the end of not this week, but next week on the 24th through the 26th is this time we have allotted for the charrette. So any comments or questions about the calendar? Pretty straightforward. All right, and then so the next thing on the agenda is really getting into the charrette, and I thought that the easiest way to do that is by looking at the Miro board from last year. So I'm gonna, the link, oops, is that right? Yeah, there we go. The link is in chat, and then I will also share here. And I am assuming as a starting point that we go with what we did last year, but then revise, we take that as a base rather than reinventing the wheel. But there may be some big revisions that we might want to do. In part because we are much further along now this year than we were last year. So there's a lot less heavy lifting that has to happen during the charrette. So there are, I think, one of the big questions that we want to ask ourselves is, what can we jettison from the schedule? Can we lighten it up? How much time do we really need to spend on it? But also, giving it enough time that it feels valuable. So basically going over what the schedule from last year. We had a Friday evening event, which was really just an online circle. It was a lifeboat conversation. And then Saturday, the first session was bringing people up to speed on all of the sessions that we had done prior to that, and also a walkthrough on the Miro board. So it went over, we used the Miro board in 3 meetings plus the guild meetings, I think. And anyhow, so there was a lot to kind of walk people through. And then the meat of the day started at 10:30, where the guilds presented their proposals. And then we had a lunch break, and we had the coordination circle where we tried to weave together the proposals. And then we had time scheduled for the badge art show, and that nothing happened there. So we didn't get any uptake on that. And then on Sunday, we had time set aside where we did a morning circle, all of the farms morning circle. And just so people could have an experience like that. And then there was dedicated time for each of the guilds to try to focus in the work plan for the guilds. And if you cast your mind back, it was only a year ago. It's hard to imagine, but things were very fuzzy at the charrette. So there was a lot of I think we wanted there to be more time for the guilds to actually kind of come up with an action plan. Because the goals were much broader and, less well defined than they are now. So I think we wanted more time there, and then we just did a very quick closing circle that was your takeaways from the process. So that is how we did it. And I think I'm just gonna go around the circle. I'm thinking we just do gathering considerations at this point and talk about, ideas for changes. So I'm going to go back and forth. I will keep notes on Asana, where you can follow along, but I'll keep our view on the Miro board in case we want to look at anything in particular. So Ronnie, over to you, gathering considerations on the charrette.
So the afternoon coordination circle, reading the description of it, I feel like we kind of already had that for this year, because when we were doing, like when we at our last outreach meeting, we already had that list. I feel like we did a lot of that at the stewardship council meeting, because when we had our outreach meeting, we had the list, the full list of like, these are the things we'd like to do this year, which ones apply to outreach. We already had an idea of kind of the cross pollinations and like the overlaps of things. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of wondering if the guild presentation session and the coordination circle session could be combined into one. I'm not exactly sure how that would work yet. And yeah, I think that's all that I will say for now. Over to April.
I like things the way they are, except I think the guild presentations are really the core of this. And again, what Ronnie said about the coordination circle already being partly sort of constructed, I guess, although I can't remember what goes into that. But yeah, I'm not sure if we need that much time for coordinating. Although having said that, I've only ever coordinated with the three of you and nobody else. So maybe, if we're going to have wider representation there, we need to consider that too. The other thing is my eyes are drawn to the summary, partly because it's right next door to the schedule, but I think these are amazing things in terms of the number of things that were achieved last year and the variety of
That's
things.
That's 23.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
But and my next question was, is there somebody who is going to do a summary result for 24?
Mhm.
And how much work does that need? I really like to see that, because it's kind of like, okay, here's the process to get more stuff started, but we know this process kind of works because look what came out of that last. There's something about that for me. And that's all I have to say right now. Over to Roland.
I think the format seemed to work really well last year, and I wonder if it's just the amount of time per category might shift a little bit. And I guess so. I'm going to ask this as a question because it is a consideration that I have, and I don't know how else to put it. But maybe it won't be a question. Anyway, let me just blabber. There will be new people and people who have experience with the Lifeboat Academy together at the charrette. And for the facilitator types, I guess this is more directed towards the facilitator types. What do the new people need without bogging down the people who are familiar with the process already? So over to Ben.
Yeah, I think I do feel like the guild presentations are the key. And I think the coordination circle, it's still putting on the sociocracy hat. The reason that you have the coordination circle do that step is to make sure that it's easy for each of the guilds to sort of overestimate, or, everyone kind of assumes that they get the lion's share of the resources. And so the coordination is really just to kind of say, does this seem reasonable? But I think that I agree that we're just so much further along in the guilds knowing how to work with each other. So like that's already, last year we were figuring out how that was going to work.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of conversation there that was really like, how do we integrate between these different things? We know that now. So it's really just kind of a quick, so I think I'm agreeing with Roland that it may be just take less time for us to do that thing well. And I think what I'm wondering is, do we need any of the Sunday stuff? And then that also makes me wonder about the Friday stuff. So could we do, instead of the Miro board walkthrough and previous recap, and I'm not, this is not even a proposal, this is just a sort of thinking out loud. Could we do a circle to start? What's building a lifeboat mean to you? A way for people to connect with each other. Then do guild presentations and the coordination circle and push it all into one day. And, just make that a little bit easier. It may make for a long day, yeah. I guess I'm kind of wondering how much time do we want to spend on the business part of it is going to be guild presentations and a little bit of coordination time. That's the business that needs to get covered. I think Roland's question is a good thing to consider. What do we want to do specifically to onboard whoever may be showing up? Just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So, what do we need to do there? And then how much relationship building time or activity do we want? So those are my thoughts. Back over to you, Ronnie.
I kind of like having the circle on Friday night because I feel like it's a nice way to end the week, and it kind of primes people to be thinking about why we're all there. But then they have a night to sleep on it and kind of let things integrate and percolate. And I think the point about, onboarding people who are less familiar is important. And I'm wondering if, instead of, last year there was like the Miro board walkthrough, because there was so much more on the board, to tell people about. I think I'm wondering about kind of an intro to the guilds. Like, this is how it's kind of like a mini Sociocracy 101, but like very watered down. It's like, these are the guilds that we use. This is why we use them. This is how it all works. And just kind of explaining the language that we're going to be using. So, what are the guilds? What is the coordination circle? What does the coordination circle do? Things like that. Just so people feel more clued into what's happening in the moment. So I think it could fit into Friday night and then Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. That would be my proposal. Over to April.
I like Ronnie's proposal. I really do think we need some time to kind of get into the zone with the opening circle on Friday night. And a time that's a little bit more casual, but still with a purpose. And then I like all the rest of Ronnie's suggestions. I'm wondering if there's a way to do a buddy system with people that aren't real familiar with this, and some of us that are more familiar with it. Is there a way to put people together, to pair people to do some of this? I mean, that might be a way to get different understandings more quickly. I also think that we need somewhere in this schedule to have a little bit of time to talk about badges.
Mm.
Because I myself am not entirely clear yet on what a badge is. I just keep thinking I've grasped it, and I'm having a vision of all the badges that'll be on my sash hanging around my neck. And then I kind of lose the whole notion. So I think that would be useful. And I'm wondering if, if the badge thing can't also be linked to a cocktail party.
Mhm.
What is the badge? If you're going to be efficient at running a cocktail party, what do you need to have part of it? And what is your badge going to look like? And now let's all pretend we have a cocktail. And who has a recipe for a good virtual cocktail? And how do we do that? So something that's a little bit of fun to finish off
Mm.
on Saturday. That's where my thoughts are at the moment. Over to Roland.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everything that's been said as considerations. And yeah, it sounds like there are some things that we can sort of condense things a little bit. And if we've got things that, anyway, I don't know how this would work. I was wondering about if there'd be a way of doing sort of little taster sessions for the types of workshops that we had last year with, if we do have new people, can we do a little, the Miro board with the resources? Let people see what resources are there, for people who may not have looked at it for a while, refamiliarize with the resources that we have and see if there are any other interesting resources. So that's one example. And can we, would it make sense to have, do either a condensed version or one of the 6 questions from I can't even remember what it's called, but we did those 6 questions, whatever they were, and do that. So also give a sense of the types, the kind of work that we've done and that I'm assuming we might want to continue doing. Either repeat or new things or both. And in terms of the badges, I'm kind of curious about what that could look like, because we haven't actually agreed. We have got a proposal for how the badges work, but I don't know that we've agreed on how they actually work and what they look like and all of that. But it could be an interesting way of introducing the idea and letting people know that they will be part of the cohort or the year in which we refine and start to use tokens and badges or something along those lines, and maybe like as a closing, some sort of activity where they actually have are able to play with it or something, but I don't know what that would look like. So this is really just vague
Mhm.
ideas that I'm throwing out. With that, I will pass over to Ben.
Yeah, well, I am also thinking, so I like what you're saying, Roland, and I think it fits here. And part of it may also fit with the Lifeboat 101 setup. And so it seems like it's useful to the, we're kind of doing double duty because we're inviting new lifeboat builders to participate in the charrette as a way of understanding what they could do on their own project. But it is really our project.
Mhm.
So, sort of keeping the charrette focused on, I don't want to say like, only focused on what needs to happen, but kind of keeping everything task oriented. But I think but what you're, so like, I can't really think of a way of weaving in one of the 6 conversations because that takes a whole chunk of time to explain and do and everything. But I totally could see how it kind of building on April's idea of the badges. I was thinking instead of I mean, I like the idea of at the end, it's kind of a cocktail conversation, badge conversation, but it could also be something where we set it up in the very beginning and we say, over the space of the day, you could earn 3 badges. You could earn your contribution badge, you could earn your noting badge, and you can earn your, whatever. And here are those skills, and the way you earn a badge is, and everyone here, if you notice someone else doing this, you give them a token. And, you know, so anyone could be giving tokens, and that would be, and it could be off to the side, it could be like in chat, you earn your tokens in chat by someone saying, good noting, or whatever. So I could see, weaving that in and kind of making it a little bit, because I think stepping back a bit, we have a proposal, but even that, it's sort of a, shouldn't you demo if it is unclear how the badges work? Wouldn't it be good to sort of dummy up a little mini experiment that gives people a flavor of how it could work? Because that's show don't tell. And, what would badges actually look like in this meeting? And anyhow, just some ideas. I think I feel like I'm going to recap because right now I feel like we've got a proposal that there's a lot of support for, and there are maybe some enhancements. And I want to make sure that we don't get carried away with the enhancements. So what I'm hearing as a proposal is we keep the agenda more or less the same. Sunday is off. Friday night circle, just like it works, an evening kind of event that allows people more social, plants a seed. The morning session, the 9 to 10, is instead of a mirror walkthrough, it's Guilds 101. A little bit sociocracy and a little bit what the guilds, just sort of a backgrounder on the guilds and the terms we use. Then guild presentations, and then coordination circle. Maybe some adjustment in the timing there. And then at the end, there, instead of the badge arts and crafts time, it's the badge sponsored cocktail hour. And come for the cocktail and stay for a discussion about badges or something like that. And so that feels to me like that is a good enough for now version. And we also have some other ideas on the table, and we can talk about where they would fit, how they would get slotted in. So that's where I'm at the moment, and I'll pass it over to Ronnie.
I like the proposal, and kind of how I've been thinking about the badges is similar to the commitment pooling idea. It's like, this is something that we want to do. We're not at the point where it's like, oh wow, we really need badges right now. Like, we need to figure this out. Um, but it is one of those ideas. It's like, we've thought about it a lot. We've had different ideas. It will be useful. Um, and I think it's also kind of, we can talk about it in the sense of like, the more engagement we have from people long term, the more need there will be for badges, the more people there will be to flesh out how the badges work, to kind of put that process together. And same with the commitment pooling. And I actually feel like there's a connection between the two. People sharing skills, people offering and receiving services. It's kind of like, who has the hedgerow badge that I could talk to? It's like,
Mhm.
these are things that they are part of the Lifeboat Academy. They're just not fully developed yet. So however we can talk about them, that's like, these things exist, and we're not putting them into practice yet. What ideas do people have? Does this sound interesting to you? If you are engaged with us long term, you'll get to be part of those things, coming to fruition. um yeah, that's all I have. Over to April.
Yeah, I like that. There is a connection between commitment pooling and badges, I think. And although I'm not real clear on what commitment pooling is, I'm pretending I know what it is so that, I'm not embarrassed in front of my peers, but I really don't know what it is. And I also think that we're almost in a position, maybe in this year's plan, to make a prediction about when things like badges will be more important. Like within a year, are we going to have enough new people, particularly with this new cohort coming through and whatever, to really get serious about it? And do we want to say part of what we're saying with badges is that we commit to reviewing this, um, 2/3 of the way through the year, or whenever, comes a good time to be doing that we get serious about it then, whatever that is. Over to Roland.
So are we condensing everything on one day, or are we still having a circle on Friday and then a circle on Sunday?
Circle on Friday, but no circle on Sunday. So we're condensing,
Okay.
we're getting rid of Sunday.
Okay, and the guild time on Sunday, we'll just have the regular guild meetings and people
Yeah.
that are there then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have that sounds fine. I'm mourning a little bit the circle on Sunday. Actually, I wonder. Anyway, that might be too much. No, never mind. Circle is, circles are, I think, are intrinsic, and we have an intro circle. Anyway, okay, that's all I want to say. Over to Ben.
Well, and I think I'm kind of feeling like split the difference. In what we can easily do is just see if anyone was interested in that, and then offer it, you know. And if no one's interested, then we do our own circle. And if people are interested, then we do it. So because my I am fine taking all of this time, and I will enjoy it all. I am also just aware that it's a big ask, to have people reschedule that much time. So I'm not getting rid of it for myself. I'm getting rid of it because I don't want to impose. But if people are interested in it, then sure. So let's do that. Then what I'm making a friendly amendment to the proposal, which is that there will be the only thing on Sunday will be a morning circle, totally optional if there's interest. And then we don't even have to say we're changing the dates of the schedule of the charrette. We can just be really clear. We've always intended it for it to be Friday to Sunday, and the Sunday thing is a little optional. So yeah, I think cool. And what was I gonna say? So to April, to your point, I like, Ronnie, what you were saying a lot. I think that's a really good, this is sort of like it's feeling into how we work. And I really like April, taking that next step about and I think that's great language, like, are we willing to make a prediction about when that might work? Other than we're not setting a deadline. It's not like, if we don't do it, we're bad people. It's just, if you look in your crystal ball, when do you think this is gonna, kind of come online? And bumping up a little bit the formality. I have been learning pretty consistently that there is you got to floss, you've got to, there's sort of this element of a lot of that stuff. It feels every time we step up a little bit, the formality, we actually get some big benefit out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at
Hmm.
some point that will tip, like, I think that's feeling into it, but having a scheduled time that we say, this proposal has a check-in on this date, and we put it in Asana, and it's going to pop up, and it gets up on the board. Anyhow, I feel like it's feeling like it's all kind of coming together for me. So I'm not really, I guess we should let's do one last round. Any sort of final thoughts on this, and then let's go through a round of making sure we've got the concrete action items that need to happen to put this all together. So over to you, Ronnie. Any final thoughts?
I'm good. Over to April.
I'm good too, and I have to leave at 5:30. Well, I will be leaving at 5:30, so having our concrete actions would be great. Over to Roland.
I have nothing to add. Sounds all like it's going well. Over to Ben.
Cool. I feel compelled to say I'm just very aware that I'm very aware and proud and excited that we span from Europe to Tasmania. And so the timing is just not going to work for everyone. And there you have it. And because I just can't imagine there's so limited time. I think we're just going to be a little North American centric for this. And I just can't imagine a way around that. So yeah, okay, so I feel like we've got a clear schedule and process. So I will scribe if we want to start actually identifying the action items. Yeah, I'll scribe, and then I'll make my contribution when we come back. So Ronnie, over to you. What do you see as some of the clear steps?
Well, it's been 2 weeks since I sent out the last newsletter, so I propose that I can put a newsletter together that's going to be the 2025 Charrette edition / invitation that will have the schedule with descriptions for each of the events. And I can also I can email that. We could specifically email people who are part of the cohort, part of the guild, etc. So they'll get an additional invitation. And then post all the social media stuff that goes along with that. So yeah, I'll start with that. Over to April.
But do we need people to register at all, or are we just like leaving it open?
I was going to ask that myself. Thoughts? Pros, cons? It's
I think
simple. It'd be really easy to just set up a Calendly kind of thing where, people click and it gets on the calendar.
I think if that's possible, then and easy to do, then yes, with the foreknowledge that there's always a whole bunch of people who just show up anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay. Any other items, April, or is over to Roland?
Nope, that's it. Over to Roland.
I guess the do who's doing what in terms of facilitating the event? Are we do we and I would rather not be a facilitator as per my usual. So and I will if I am asked if you need me, but otherwise who's doing what? Over to you, Ben.
Yeah, well, and that makes me think, I'm just looking at the so we'd have the Friday circle. This is kind of the task that I was going to say is who does the Guild 101. And we already have some materials together. We had like a guild onboarding thing, so we have something that, but it's the facilitate and put together. If there needs to be one. The guild presentations, really, it's each guild it's there's no facilitation. It's
Yeah.
present and then questions and that's it. So it's kind of maybe what would you call it, like a moderator for guild presentations. And then the coordination circle and the badges. And that's also sort of a presenter. And I'll say I am happy to put something together for the Guild 101 for sure, and don't have to. So if somebody else wants to take that on, more than happy to let that go. And I guess since I'm the one who put together the badges, I could put something together for the badges, and it might be nice to have somebody to work with to kind of bounce.
I'm happy to work with you on that. So
Cool. All right.
on a need to know basis, mine to know.
And then Sunday circle, and then Sunday circle. Okay, so I think that's the list of what needs facilitation. And oops, I'm having split screen problems. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, back over to you, Ronnie.
Ben, could we work together to put together the Guilds 101 presentation and then I could give the presentation with your backup support?
Love it. Perfect.
That's something that I would love to also give to other people in other places as well, just to be able to talk about the guild system. And then for the Friday night circle, Ben and April and we have co-facilitated circles like that together before, and I think it works really nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my proposal for that.
Okay.
And it's basically get together 15 minutes before and who's going to take which part. It's a lifeboat
Yeah.
circle. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Okay. Over to April.
That's all fine with me. Over to Roland.
Cool, guys. Over to Ben.
Roland, can I put your name on the Sunday circle?
Okay.
You and I can do it. Cool. Okay, so then once through the list, okay, Ronnie's going to take on the newsletter. There's also the specific email to guilds and lifeboat builders. And I have to speed around. Actually, the one thing I don't know that we need the Miro board this year. Because we're not, it's just not the same kind of setup. It might actually just be nicer with more, faces and PowerPoint kind of thing. Okay, so Ronnie's going to take care of social media and newsletter. I can help with the email easily, and I mean that's mechanical. And I can set up the Calendly link. And I'll set it up for, I'm saying this out loud just for feedback, for the Friday night circle, Saturday, the day of, and the Sunday circle. So people can choose, what they want to take part in. And then we've got facilitators, the moderator for the coordination circle or the presentations we can do. It's that's not really hard. We could flip a coin the day of. Do rock, paper, scissors, see who's going to do it. I think that's it then. So just once thumbs up if that looks like a good list. Nothing.
Nothing else. I do think though there's some way we need to reference the Miro board because
Yeah.
A, there's some beautiful things on it, and B, there will be people that haven't seen it, or if they've seen it, it hasn't made any sense to them. So
Yeah.
anyway, other than that, thumbs
Yeah.
up. Thumbs up.
Cool. I think that's it. So just a really quick closing last thoughts for the good of the cause. And other than that, we'll just coordinate our shared responsibilities. So Ronnie, over to you. Last thoughts.
Wait, is this for the end of the meeting?
I think.
Okay, I thought we were going to be doing guild reports and talking about the proposals, but
No, that'll happen at the charrette.
okay. Okay, great. Awesome. I'm good. Over to April.
Happy New Year, everybody. And it's really nice to see your faces. And I look forward to whatever's next. Over to Ron.
Upward and onward. Over to Ben.
Agreed. I'm off to close the chickens.
Very
All right. Good night. See y'all soon.
Take care.